welcome to this week's episode of Business Solutions, where we provide solutions on formed lifestyles. My name is Kingsley Oluoko, and today we are hitting the ground in the Kilimani area of Nairobi, talking everything about e-mobility, financing, and how to remove the barriers of financing in this world where issues of climate change are becoming rampant. And so to unpack this, I'm joined by Mr. Magati Komesa, the founder and CEO of E-boda by Iconic. Thank you so much, sir. Tell me who you are, sir, and why this business?
Yeah, thank you, Kingsley, for having me. I am Magati Komesa, a young person, free spirit, and a believer of freedom. I believe in the freedom of choice, the freedom to choose where you want to work, where you want to live, and how much you want to earn. And that's why I started E-boda. And just to give you a brief background, I was invited by my friend to an e-mobility conference back in 2022. And I got to interact with various people, various stakeholders, but most importantly, I got to interact with the riders who are there. And they were viewing a bike. I remember it was a spiral bike. And I just tried to engage them and ask them, why are you here? Okay, and they said they're interested in these electric bikes. And I asked them, okay, are you willing to take up an electric bike? And they said, well, we are interested, but now the cost is too much. Okay, so when I went back home that day, I thought to myself, how can I reduce the cost of this electric bike so that the common rider can be able to afford this technology and can be able to actually ride and own an electric bike with pride. And after that night, I spent some time meditating on an idea, and I spent the next 2 months doing my research. I went to the ground, I researched with the riders who are currently using the electric bikes. I asked questions to riders who are using fuel motorbikes, and I got a brief background of what really the market looks like.
And just to begin, I understand that you're targeting the young people as well who may be having issues to do with capital or even collateral for getting loans for that. So you identify some of the gaps that you could be having, and now you came up with E-boda by Iconic. Maybe we'll just make us understand what it takes to own one, because now you've bridged the gap where issues of down payment and issues of getting money to make your payments.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. The hugest gap that I noticed, okay, was at the point of entry. There was a huge barrier of entry. You realize riders are required to pay down payments of up to 25,000 shillings just to start riding that bike, and then pay highly daily rates. Okay, and I thought to myself, how can I break this entry? You know, how can we break this barrier and give these riders access to these bikes? You know, because the riders are qualified riders, they own motorbikes, fuel motorbikes, and they are ready to work. So I thought, how can we break this barrier? So the hugest gap that I found was that barrier to entry. Yeah.
Talking about now the requirements to be signed up by E-boda by Iconic. I mean, I understand that there has to be something that you need to have so that this person does not go away with something that you're given. Maybe you could just give us the requirements that one needs to have to be onboarded by E-boda by Iconic.
Okay, so when you're looking at, I'll take you back a little bit. Okay, when you're looking at a rider profile and why most financing companies require a rider to pay a down payment, it's because they view riders as too risky. Okay, and the reason is maybe they don't understand the local market. They don't understand the riders themselves. All right, these are young people who are looking to earn a living, support their families, and improve their economic status. Yeah. So I thought to myself, how can I break this barrier? And that's why at E-boda by Iconic, we went to the ground, spoke with these riders, did our research. We went to where these riders live, met their families, and found out these are just hardworking young men. So at E-boda by Iconic, a rider doesn't require any financial muscle to join and start their ownership journey. They just require to be a qualified rider, have a driving license, have a good conduct certificate, and they're set to go. As long as they have the skills, they're set to hit the road and earn a living.
There you have it, the requirements that you should have for you to acquire one. And so I have these requirements and come to you. Where do I find you, and how is the process like of just walking out with one motorbike to your next client?
So our riders can find us. We have a website at iconicfusion.co.ke. They can find us on our socials, Facebook and Instagram at E-boda by Iconic, where they just send an inquiry and then we'll take them through the onboarding process. The onboarding process is very simple. You just send your documents, your driving license, your good conduct certificate, national ID. Then we vet you. After we vetted you, you come, we interview you, and we hand you a bike.
Great. I wish to understand, I know you don't just sell what you don't believe in. Taking me to the technicalities of each boda to the other. What do you like about the batteries? What do you like about the model of it? What are you selling?
So each electric bike is different. Okay, different brands have different designs. They have different operating models. We try as much as possible to include as many brands as possible so that we give our riders the power of choice, the freedom that I was talking about, so that they can pick, I want this bike over the other bike. So when you look at, there's a bike called Roam, okay? Roam will give a rider the option to charge in the house, okay? And then there's a bike called Ringo, the one I'm currently on. The rider doesn't have to charge the bike at home. They can just go to a swap station and get a battery. Yeah.
Okay, so like you have a diverse brands that are working with you.
Yes.
Maybe you could just make that clear so that people understand you're not the one who is selling the boda, but you're working with a collection of people that are able to give you what your customer needs.
Yes, so we're working with a variety of brands. For us, our main goal is to offer risk-free and affordable financing to boda riders. So we work with different brands and different partners, and depending on how efficient their bike is in the Kenyan market, we get to onboard them and we partner with them.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that is really great because you're having a pool of people working with you and now you can identify what meets a particular client's needs. I understand that there's so many misconceptions about e-bikes. I understand people are worried, will I be taken to the particular place, rider niambie battery measure? Maybe how are you able now to mention, you mentioned how Ringo is being charged and the other ones who can charge it at home. Maybe you could just give us those specs.
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, the biggest challenge, okay, with riders and customers as well is range anxiety. Okay, how far can this bike take me? Can I go to the rural suburbs with this bike?
Yeah,
that's the biggest challenge. So what else we do, we train our riders on depending on the bike that they have chosen, and we give them access to full information about the bike. So where the swap stations are, where you can charge your bike, where you can get a battery, and then we enable them to be able to make the preference choice, because the rider is the one who's on the road. They're the ones who are able to say, okay, I have 20% left. I need to go to a swap station quickly. Yeah.
And just to notice that majority of your clients are using it for commercial purposes. Before we even talk about how commercial works, what are the options for somebody who wants to have just one for their own personal use?
So if someone wants to have a bike for their own personal use, they can come to us and we'll give them the choices of the bikes that we have under the financing model, and they'll be able to choose. They won't need to pay any down payment or deposit, and then they'll start using the bike.
Start using it.
Yeah.
Now, for commercial purposes, people will wish to understand how or rather the balance between charging it and the consumption in terms of profits. I know you cannot just sell something that you can't see value for, or buy something that you cannot see value for. Then what are the testimonies that you've had from your clients about the profitability of this kind of business?
Yes, so our clients who are riders, right? We are a rider-centric organization, okay?
Yeah.
So we work with bikes who have a network of swap stations. What this does, it reduces their downtime when they need to charge a battery or swap a battery.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we've noticed is that when a rider wakes up in the morning and they report to work, by the time they need to swap a battery at like 11, they've made enough to cater for that battery cost, and in the afternoon they're just working on their profits.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talking about maintenance, because I understand these are some of the challenges that can increase operational costs. You operate with a variety of brands that sell. Then how are you able to assure them about spare parts? I understand we are having them on board coming from overseas, but what about the spare parts aspect of it?
So before we onboard a new bike, we ensure that that bike has spare parts available locally. And those spare parts need to be very affordable, so that it doesn't hurt the pocket of the rider.
Yeah.
So we do our own research and we move around the city. We've also partnered with a few garages where riders can go and get their bikes serviced at an affordable cost.
That is great, really, just to understand that and to know that there are options that you cannot just on board without assuring your clients that there are spare parts about. I will wish us to talk about the impact of the environment, even as you get into this. Sustainable development goals, e-mobility is coming up, championing for doing away with fossil fuels. Then how does that inspire you even as you work in this business?
It inspires me in the sense that our business is saving the environment. As we speak, as of today, our bikes have covered 3 million kilometers and saved over 220 metric tons of carbon emissions. And to me, that's an impact which, when I go to bed, I sleep well.
Yeah. Brilliant. Over how many kilometers so far?
3 million.
3 million.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is really, really brilliant. Government is really on your side, you people. It's championing for this, lowering taxes and imports and all that. How does that boost your business, just to be assured that you have a government backing on this business?
We appreciate the efforts of the government. Okay, they have reduced taxes, import duties, levies on imported parts. And what this does, it reduces the cost of an electric bike. And it also reduces the cost to the end user, who is the rider. So you'd realize when electric bikes first came into the market, they were retailing at around 290 to 300,000. But right now in 2025, there are electric bikes which go for half that amount at around 160,000. So the government incentives are a welcome initiative, and we welcome the government to support us even more as we try to maintain the environment and support young entrepreneurs and young riders improve their living.
In the living.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they need to see you, they need to find you. E-boda by Iconic, because the deal that you're having for them is good. I know you can debunk so many misconceptions. I will just wish to understand, maybe as we finalize, there is normally a rigidity of change where we're used to fuel and getting to the gas station, but now you're saying that you can charge your battery and ride along. How has that helped you even shift your mindset, free-spirited as you say, while you're able to see people change and onboard this business?
I am proud of how far we've come as E-boda by Iconic, as e-mobility stakeholders, as also the riders. I'm proud of the riders. Because what we are noticing right now is riders are becoming more positive and more receptive of electric. And now is the time to go electric. When riders go electric, they get to save more, they get to earn more. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Magati, for that incredible interview. I'll be speaking to the riders who are also with us. I'll be speaking to the riders who are also with us just to hear their comments about working with E-boda by Iconic Limited, just after the interview with the CEO and the founder, Mr. Magati Pomesa.
Okay, kwa majina anaitwa Wafula Humphrey. Nafanya kazi na pikipiki ya E-boda. Nilipata E-boda yangu kwa Iconic Vision. Nienda kwa website ya Iconic Vision. I got the number there. I reached out to manager called Magadi, akanintroduce, akaniambia they have electric bikes whereby wanapeana and mtu una benefit nayo. So I took my time, nikaenda kumuona, we discussed some points. First of all, akaniambia advantages na disadvantages, but mostly ni rely sana kwa advantage. Nilikuwa nataka kujua what are the advantages. The advantages is, tu ya kwanza ni ukipewa hii pikipiki, aliniambia first of all, so long as you qualify, you have the documents to qualify. Kamuuliza ije, akaniambia kama you have a license, you have a good conduct and uko na ID, probably anakuintroduce kwa kampani yake, then unapewa bike. So nikamuuliza what with the down payment, akaniambia no story na down payment, hakuna, you just get the bike na unaanza kazi immediately. Since nichukua hii pikipiki, for now it's been almost 2 months nikifanya na hii kampani ya Iconic. Siwezi sema kazi ni mbaya. Sometimes okay, on the road we have some challenges, we have ups and downs, but compared to other motorbikes, at least kuna kitu na gain kidogo. First of all, the advantage na hii motorbike compared to pikipiki ya mafuta, tu ya kwanza hii iko na advantage yake, at least you have something to put in a pocket. Tu ya kwanza ndio tunaangalia upande wa distances na kilometers covered. Tukikompea kama for example from here to town, unapata like ukitumia when your battery is 100%, ukienda kama town unapata customer na kulipa like let's say is around 150, whereby ukikompea na hiyo 150, ukiangalia hiyo battery charge yako utakuwa umetumia like only 3% from Kilimani to town. Ukipiga hiyo hesabu ya 3% per charge na by percentage, utapata ni like umetumia 15 bob. So from Kilimani to and fro, ukienda na mteja kutoka Kilimani to town, that's a total of 150, then back to Kilimani again with another customer, that's around 300 shillings. So that's the first thing advantage ya hii pikipiki compared to ya fuel.
Yeah, my names are William Kashi. Na work na Ringo M300 from company inajiita Iconic Fusion, owned by Magati. The bike is not bad, and what kenye ilini invite sana kuingia kwa Iconic Fusion is that you just send your messages via their website. They are available in Facebook, Instagram. Ukituma tu text hivi unajibiwa saa hiyo na unaitishwa requirements. Na requirements si requirements zenye unaweza shindwa kumanage. Ni requirements kama unaitishwa good conduct, unaitishwa license na ID peke yake. And there is no anything like down payment. Ni wewe tu ukisubmit hizo, you are good to go. In 1 or 2 days unaendea bike na unaanza kazi.
Biashara imekuwa tangu uchukue bike? Kutoka lini?
Bike nilichukua around mwezi wa 3 hapo tarehe 14, na busy imekuwa poa, ijakuwa mbaya, but saa hii ndio maybe of late imeanza kushuka, sijui ni probably juu ya maybe budget kusoma hivi, kazi imerudi chini kidogo, but busy imekuwa sawa.
Ukikompea na mafuta umeona uzuri gani?
Ukikompea na mafuta na hii, uzuri wa hii iko na advantages mob, like hii mambo na like venye unaweza access hiyo mafuta, kama venye mafuta iko na challenges mingi, unapata mechanical issues, but hii si vile compared to ya mafuta. Hii iko less kwa sababu haina maintenance yake, ni kidogo sana, na ziko affordable to all the youths wenye wako huku nje. Wacha kukaa hapo zubao ukisema eti hakuna kazi iko. Ingia uko na smartphone, ingia website, just type the name Iconic Fusion, tuma text, just say hi, kuna mtu atakurespondia, na from there if you have the requirements, the DL, good conduct, you are good to go. Yeah.
Sawa, asante sana.
Karibu sana.
I'm telling you, you cannot make this stuff up. That has been this week's episode of Business Solutions, hitting the road, talking about everything e-mobility, everything making the environment better. 3 million kilometers covered, 220 metric tons of carbon emissions saved by E-boda, by Iconic. You cannot make this stuff up. That has been this week's episode of Business Solutions, where we provide solutions on formed lifestyles. My name is Kingsley Oluoko.